There is a GoFundMe right now. It's a private fundraiser to build the wall, and they're trying to raise $1 billion. Well, they actually would need much, much more than that, but that's their goal. Maybe it's because it's the maximum, I don't know. Well, Vice News wrote about it. They said Congress won't pay for Trump's wall, so his supporters are crowdfunding it. We'll read what Vice News has to say, but I've got the fundraiser right here. Now, I opened this about a half an hour ago. It's at $12,490,657 in 4 days. That's insane. Let's refresh it and see what happens. It just went up nearly $200,000 in like half an hour. This is going viral. It's not even up for debate. This thing is ridiculously viral. It's by a man named Brian Colfage. He's a verified blue check Facebook page as a public figure and a Purple Heart recipient, triple amputee veteran. So he's been on TV talking about this. They've got 207,653 people have contributed to this GoFundMe. So that's actually a pretty decent high donation per person. Not super high. What does that come out to, like $5 or something? I don't know. I'm not going to do the math in my head. You can make fun of me. Let's see what Vice News has to say about it, though. Now that President Donald Trump's dream of a $5 billion in border wall funding seems to be toast. I mean, when was this article published? This is from yesterday. The House approved a bill with $5.7 billion, by the way. So this is dated. Some private citizens are trying a most American solution to get the money to make it happen: crowdfunding. Oh, there's a bunch apparently. So there's a bunch. The White House signaled Tuesday that it probably wouldn't shut down the government over border wall funding, which Trump has repeatedly threatened. This article's old. They're gonna shut it down. It's happening. Frustrated by the government's inaction, people are throwing money at perfect strangers in hopes that they can privately muster up the billions of dollars needed to build the wall. One such fundraiser, a self-described triple amputee veteran, has raised $3.7 million on GoFundMe in just 3 days. Think about this. Yesterday, this article comes out, and they say he raised $3.7 million in 3 days. 3 days. That means they average about $1 million per day. Now look where it is. Within 4 days, 4 times as much as it was a day ago. This is ridiculously viral. You know, some dude, this guy right here, look, he gave $100. This guy gave $50. That's ridiculous. Look, I really don't believe they're going to get anywhere near a $1 billion goal, but $12 million, that's not chump change, you know? So let's see what they say. They say that's impressive, but only about 0.017% of the estimated $22 billion that Trump's border wall will actually cost, according to a leaked report from the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats are going to stall this project by every means possible and play political games to ensure President Trump doesn't get his victory, wrote Brian Colfage. They'd rather see President Trump fail than see America succeed. However, if we can fund a large portion of this wall, it will jumpstart things and will be less money. Less money Trump has to secure from our politicians. Another wall supporter, Quentin Kramer, has a decidedly less ambitious plan to build part of the wall, but he's still managed to get around $164,000. There's more than one GoFundMe, apparently. We need a wall in parts of places, and not necessarily an entire wall, he told Vice News. He's also selling Fund the Wall merch, coffee mugs, shirts, water bottles, that people can buy to support a wall that Congress and most Americans have rejected. Americans, get your copy editor on this, Vice. Kramer said he was inspired to start the campaign due to his fury over the opioid crisis, which he blamed on drug smuggling from the south of the border. Experts have long said that the opioid crisis has origins in the U.S. healthcare system, which overprescribed drugs to working-class Americans. Kramer hopes to act as a coalition with other border wall crowdfunders. He conceded, though, that they may not make it to $22 billion. If that happens, he said he will donate his funds raised to a charitable cause or sheriff's association. If he puts his money together with Colfage's, they're just $216.1 million away from 1% of the total money needed to fund the wall. However, they're saying, yes, it could be $22 billion with the B, but Trump is seeking around $5 to $6 billion from Congress. And they've so far approved, I think he's seeking 5, and the House has approved $5.7 billion, which means that Trump's plan is not 22, it's 5, in which case the GoFundMe is still a long way off. But man, I really want to talk about some of this wall stuff because, you know, I don't know if I've ever really talked about my opinions on what the wall is or isn't or anything. I've talked a little bit, but let's make one thing clear. The wall will work. Period. I don't even understand why that's up for debate. But I don't think that's the real debate at all. Although a lot of people on the left are saying the wall won't work, the reason they say the wall won't work is because they focus on other things. The argument that I tend to hear is that Trump's wall won't work because 2/3 of illegal immigrants come here legally, but then overstay their visas. And my response is, right, that has nothing to do with whether a wall will keep people out. They have built border barriers in Europe. I made a couple of videos about this in various areas, and it has reduced illegal entry by like 90 to 95%. One good reason, and there's one really crazy instance. I made this video a couple of years ago, actually, and a bunch of lefty people I know were like, how dare you, are you Trump supporter? And I'm like, dude, I'm asking whether the wall keeps people out, not whether it's a good idea. The point is, in one country, they erected a 3-meter high chain link fence. That's it. Like the thing you see at a baseball field, they put that up. And guess what? Illegal immigration dropped by like 85 to 95%. Young men would easily climb over it. Rather ineffective in that regard. However, many of the people who were entering illegally were with families who couldn't jump the fence. Babies and old people couldn't climb over, and the families wouldn't leave them behind. Once they learned of the wall, many diverted and started going other places. To put it quite simply, even the young men who can climb the wall were still with other people, and they decided simply because the wall is there, it would be easier to find a different route. And the numbers dropped dramatically. And let's talk about drug smuggling and child trafficking and sex trafficking. All of that will be stopped too. There's a better argument, in my opinion, as to whether or not the wall is worth it. That's actually the argument. Is it worth it? Will we stem enough crime to justify 5 or 22 billion? I think 5, look, it's just Trump wants 5 billion. Okay, so can we build the wall of 5 billion? Maybe, as what Trump's requesting. Maybe it'll be more. Regardless, is the cost worth it? That's an opinion. I mean, look, we know that drugs do come from the South. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, right. We know that people regularly rush through the border in these dangerous places. I mean, look at the story of that 7-year-old girl who died of sepsis, septic shock. It was reported there was a combination of septic shock and dehydration. I think what the DHS said is that it was septic shock, meaning she's like infection through the blood, dying basically. Everyone got mad at Customs and Border Patrol over that. It's insane, really. And think about the escalation of what that would be. Right now, you have people coming through the border illegally, walking through. It happens all the time. Is it most people? No. But the question isn't whether or not it will stop all illegal immigration. It's whether or not it will stop people from trying to go on these big journeys, risk the lives of their 7-year-old children who ultimately die, or they'll say, you know what, there's a wall there, let's go a different way. So yes, a wall will stop those who try to cross through the border illegally. I think it's fairly obvious. In fact, even a simple, tiny barrier will still deter some people. I feel like a lot of what the left is doing in the argument is a conflation over what the concerns really are. Sure, there are probably people on the right who are saying we want to stop illegal immigration from, South and Central America, from Mexico and Central America, but I don't think I've ever seen an argument where it's like we're trying to stop all illegal immigration, period. That's what the wall is for. No, I think the wall is for stopping specific people who do it. So it's an interesting argument, in my opinion, because it's not actually addressing the issue. I would argue, in my opinion, I don't think the wall is worth it simply because over time it will be damaged, it will erode, and certain interests who make money trafficking drugs will simply find a way to break it through. Coyotes will try and find a way to erode and damage the wall and then just come up with a solution. Maybe they'll start building tunnels. So the way I see it is wall funding ultimately is a temporary solution because alternatives will be developed by those who want to get in illegally. I don't believe there will ever be a wall that can't be scaled, but it will certainly stop a lot of people. Over time, a solution will be found. When I hear the left argue that it doesn't actually stop illegal immigration, I'm just like, but you're not actually addressing the issue. You're actually admitting people do cross the border illegally on the South. When they say, what's the point of the wall? It's not going to stop illegal immigrants. 60% of the illegal immigrants just overstay visas. Right? All you're saying is that 40% of the problem can be solved by the wall. You realize that, right? So if you're saying that to a conservative, I can only imagine they go, wow, we can stop 40% of illegal immigration by building a wall? That's a big number. Let's build a wall. right? Is there a way to take $5 billion, or maybe 22, and stop all illegal immigration, or more than 40%? I actually don't know. I do think we need to have border security because we need to protect those who come here legally. We need to respect the process. We need to respect the rule of law, maintain our jurisdiction, and make sure that traffickers aren't stealing children and bringing drugs into this country. I don't know if the wall is the right answer. I think the wall is hyperbolic. I think it sounded really good to Trump in the campaign, and I think that's what it's being pushed for. And I think the left is just opposed to anything Trump wants to do. So I don't know what the actual logical debate is. Right? I don't trust anybody. I think you've got Trump supporters who are like, woohoo, build the wall because it's our thing. And you have the left saying, don't build the wall because it's their thing. And I'm sitting here like, let's talk about a cost-benefit analysis. What if we took the $5 billion in funding towards Customs and Border Patrol manpower, people actually on the ground patrolling the barriers, surveillance and things of that nature? Would that be effective? If it would, maybe that makes more sense. What if the $5 billion can be used towards social programs that would encourage people not to enter illegally? What if that $5 billion was applied to temporary housing so that we could process asylum requests and immigration requests at the border? Would that be more effective in deterring people from crossing illegally? I don't know. I'd have to imagine $5 billion wouldn't go that long wouldn't last that long if we're talking about manpower because it's extremely expensive. I also don't know how long a wall would actually last. Maybe you guys know. I don't know. The point is, the debate isn't going to be whether or not the wall will stop illegal immigration. It will. We know it will. And the left is arguing a nonsensical point, in my opinion. You need to actually question whether or not the money is worth it. And this fundraiser is actually a really good point. Look, so far they've raised a lot of money in a very short amount of time. I don't know. This might be a record. Like the fastest. I've never seen anything as fast as this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just not remembering it. But 12, okay. You've been watching this video for about 10 minutes. Let's refresh. Up another 25 or so $1,000 in 10 minutes. So this is huge in 4 days, but it's nowhere near how much they'll actually need to build it. I'll say it's fascinating that people are willing to throw down money like this. Like another guy threw down $100, $40, 10, 15, 50. But do the people actually support putting that much money into a wall is a good question. I think the amount of people willing to fund this GoFundMe, if it is a record, shows something promising for those who want the wall. But I think for the most part, the debate over the wall hasn't been fair. I think people on the right have had an interesting take on it for sure. And I think the left is just arguing against Trump because even Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and other Democrats were in favor of a border barrier, they called it. So if that's the case, why did their opinion change? It's almost like Trump said, you know what, okay, fine, Democrats, I'll give you what you want. And the Democrats said, no, we don't want it anymore. You know what I mean? Anyway, long story short, huge GoFundMe. I'd be interested in like a legitimate debate on the issue. Long story short, a border barrier will stop illegal entry. So I don't know what the debate really is. Value is probably the real debate. Anyway, stick around, more videos to come. Just click my name. The videos are up. You can watch them.